So I think we should make a start. My name is Chanel Williams and I am for ODP. And welcome to the Digital Planning Improvement Fund, the introduction event. We will be starting in a few minutes, just while Sarah lets everybody in. So while we are here, feel free in the chat option, which is the top of your screen, just to introduce yourself. Say hi to each other. Okay, right, let's make a start. So, as I said before, welcome to the Digital Planning Improvement Fund. This is the introduction event. What we will be doing is a small bit of housekeeping first. So, as I said, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Also, just a notice that we are recording. So, if you do feel better to have your camera off, that's absolutely fine. This session will be available afterwards as well. So there will be a question and answer time allocation at the end of each session that we've got. But also, please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and the lovely Sarah and Sarah will be collating those questions, and we will answer them either at the end of the session or at the end of the entire session that we have. So that's the housekeeping. This is a section that I think has been really lovingly put together. By the end of this session, what we really want you to feel are these areas. So we want you to feel excited for the future of planning. We want you to feel inspired by the programme's vision that we'll go through with you, comfortable knowing our journey, and confident to use the tools and support available to us. We also want you to feel ready and clear about the next steps. So who we are, what we are, and the journey that we're going to go on. So hopefully by the end of this, we feel really confident that you will feel enabled to do all of these things. So quickly, just to go through the agenda. So we've got intro and warm up. And then we'll be handing over to Matt, who's going to go through the Open Digital Planning, what to expect on the Digital Planning Improvement Funds, the Digital Improvement Journey, so the Digital Planning Maturity Assessment and data. And then we're going to have a short 10-minute break. And then we will have how to navigate the ODP, so the self-service support, peer support, Department Levelling Up Housing and Community Support, so DLAC support, and key dates and next steps. And then we'll have some time for questions at the end of all of that. But at the end of each particular session, we will also have questions. So please feel free to start putting them in the chat. Okay, so moving on, we're going to have a warm-up. So for this warm-up, we would like, using the chat facilities and 10 words or less, so keep it short and snappy, we would like you to put the most unique facts about your local area that nobody else would know. So an example of this is that Gloucester is home to Europe's biggest ice cream factory, which is Walls. I am not in Gloucester, but I'm a massive ice cream fan. So that was a known fact to me, and I'm really interested to see what your known facts are. So for the next 2 to 3 minutes, if you want to start putting your known facts into the chat, and then we'll have a look at them after. Milton Keynes has more bridges than Venice. I didn't know that, Sarah Evans. I think it's common knowledge that Croydon is the home of Kate Moss. Rochdale broke the world record for cooking the largest pancake in 1994. I think that is my favourite so far. Dorset doesn't have any motorways. Ellenby Tower Hamlets has the UK's oldest council housing estate. Sandwell has more canals than Venice. I think we're going to have a canal off here. Guy Pearce spent his childhood in Ely. These are really interesting. Earl Grey tea originated in Northumberland. Eva looks shocked. I'm happy I'm not the only one. I did just see that David Bowie's brother was locked up in Crane Hill in Croydon, and the asylum appears on his album covers. This is incredible. What I'm going to do is I'm going to export some of these, and we're also going to have them featuring in some of the ODP decks that we send out as well, because they're really super interesting. I think that is all we have time for by way of a warm-up, but it's so interesting to see all the interesting facts that you've come up with. It's brilliant. Thank you so much. So moving on. I'm going to pass over to Matt for the welcome to ODP.
Thank you, Chanel. And thanks to our colleagues in Salford for inventing the weekend. That's definitely, if not the best, one of the most important ones that's been shared here. So hi everyone, my name is Matt. I lead our work in DLUC to help improve planning software in theory across the market, and so work with a brilliant group of people, some of them that you're going to meet today, not everyone, but I'm sure lots of them you'll meet over the course of your work in the next 6 to 12 months or so. So first of all, welcome and congratulations again on getting the funding from us and beginning this journey. I think it's going to be a really interesting time ahead, and we hope it's going to be transformative for you as individuals as well as for your organizations as well. So to give you a bit of background, some things here you might have heard before in the welcome event a week and a half ago. What we're doing here in DLUC in the digital planning program is pursuing a vision of a modern and efficient 21st century planning system that's data-driven, standards-based, powered by modern user-centered products and services. That's a lovely sentence, and I think it's probably worthwhile digging into what that actually means a little bit and what it means for you. Underpinning a lot of this, as some of you that have followed digital planning journey so far over the last 2 or 3 years might be aware, is looking to move from a system that's largely based on documents, even if they are lovely digitized PDF documents, to something that can make better use of the data around the planning system. And so a lot of the value in that is having standards-based consistent data that can be reused by multiple different users, and to make sure that the products there really embed the needs of their users at their core. And what I'm really excited for those of you that are less familiar with this way of working to find out more about over the next year is exactly what that means for you, to get some training and some practical experience in thinking about what user-centered planning services look like. So those are all great, but in terms of the outcomes that we're hoping that this starts you on a pathway towards, really what we're thinking of and what we're aiming towards and what the local authorities we've currently worked with are aiming towards is less admin and less data processing, especially around the planning application processes, which is what we've focused on so far, but really want to expand that into the entire planning system, making that a much faster and more efficient system that's underpinned by more reliable information and data, and ultimately that has happier planners and happier planning teams working for it, because we know how difficult running planning teams has been over the last few years. So you probably already know where you sit here, but just to point out that there are really 4 elements to the work and groups of people that you might come across. There are yourselves sitting there in the middle in what we've called Open Digital Planning Service Improvement. I'm going to go through that pathway in detail in this session. We've also got some newly funded local authorities working on PropTech innovation projects, and we know that there's some crossovers as well between some of you that are doing both aspects of work there. There are 19 local authorities who have been working with us for the last year or more, some since about 2020, to co-design new digital services for planning. Those are things like PlanX and BOPS, which you might have heard of, and which you'll have opportunities to find out more about. And they're supporting you with all of this. There's our DLUC digital planning team, which is going to go far beyond the people that you're going to meet today. And all of you within that sit within this wider open digital planning community, which we're looking to really develop and grow over the next year or more. If you're new to this, open digital planning really started off as a local authority-led project, where local authorities were thinking about what they wanted planning services to be for them and commissioning digital agencies to help them design that. They're still working on that, but as things have been progressing, we're really seeing the value in opening this up to more people and opening up beyond just specific products and services. So when you see that tagline, planning services designed by planners, this is all about making sure that the voice of the planner and the voice of planning teams is at the core of whatever digital or data transformations come out of the sector over the next few years, and really making sure that you're in the box seat to lead and support and be carried along by the progress towards that future. So open digital planning, importantly, is not a DLUC initiative. It's local authority owned, it's bottom up, and at the moment we are the ones kind of doing a lot of the coordination and playing those kind of ringmaster roles. Sorry, but the vision is very much that this becomes separate from central government and is a really clear sector voice for the future of planning. It also represents a different way of working, particularly working across organisational boundaries, because what we recognise as DLUC, and I think what everyone that's involved in the programme is recognising, is that we're talking about a planning system and we're talking about systems change, and there's not a single organisation that can do that at scale and can do that in a way that means that you're going to get the best benefits from some of the changes that are being brought about, whether it's technological or in terms of different ways of working and so on. There is a vision behind open digital planning, which was put together by I think about 9 or 10 local authorities we were working with at the end of 2023. And in the short term, that's about expanding things out into a whole community of local authorities using various different services and seeing really tangible improvements in planning application processes. That's by around this time next year, which is what our digital planning programme funding runs up to at the moment, although obviously we hope there'll be a new government and even more impetus put behind it. But at the same time, they came up with a 10-year vision, and that 10-year vision is, as you can see, much more ambitious. It's about having a local government-led entity at the centre of an ecosystem of these effective, reliable, interoperable planning services that are core to digital and data-led planning systems. So I hope that matches with what you're aiming for. There's a bit more detail under the visions, which are on the Open Digital Planning website and which you'll have access to on the Open Digital Planning Resource Hub, which you'll find out more about later on. But what does the community do? What's it there for? Got 5 kind of key headlines here. It's about openly innovating. It's about doing this in a way where everyone can benefit from what's going on, whether that's in your services, whether that is technology providers benefiting what's happening in technology developments elsewhere, especially the ones that we fund as central government. One of our key principles is that everything should be open as much as possible so that everyone can benefit from these. And that really underpins this idea of providing support for one another. Hopefully, there will be times when you need support and you're able to reach out to someone else in this community of local authorities and get the help that you need to help you overcome a small obstacle. We as DLUC, very few of us, frankly, have worked in local authority planning services. Some have, but not all of us. And so the best people to answer some of your questions are likely to be your local authority counterparts. And likewise, we hope that you'll be in a position to provide them with support when they need it. A big part of what we're all doing here is developing capabilities for yourselves, for people across the system, openly sharing knowledge so that your learnings can be shared not just with councils that are funded here, but also with those that weren't in a position to apply for funding, or maybe even earlier on in their journeys, so that they can benefit from some of the advances that you're all making. And then ultimately, this is all about how we make collective improvements, not just within the public sector, but also across the public and private sector and other organisations involved in planning. A massive part then, as it's probably been touched on already, or I've covered in previous points, is that collaboration is really important to this. This is why we think community is important, why we think knowledge sharing is important, and why a big part of what we're going to be doing over the next year is providing plenty of opportunities for you to connect with each other, providing you with the resource also to use your funding to go to your bosses at times and get some time away from the office to come and talk and think and share problems, share solutions to how you can make your digital planning services fit for the future. We went through these in the welcome event. I think it's worth just briefly putting them up again. I won't go through them in anything like as much detail, but being proactive is going to be really important, really embracing collaboration and forcing yourself to, in some occasions, reach out to other people. There is going to be a certain amount of reporting, documentation, and considering how others can benefit from what you're doing. That's just really core to the kind of ethos of the program, and as you can imagine, from a significant government funding initiative, something that we have to hold really dear. But there should be some massive opportunities for you to learn about new things, learn what the right level of risks are that can be taken, and hopefully develop both as service teams, but also as individuals along the way. And we've seen several local authorities and loads of individuals that have been through this previously really benefit from this as kind of a personal and professional development opportunity. With that in mind, there's one man we'd particularly like to invite to share a few words, Duncan Miller, who works at Newcastle City Council and who's been working with us for, I think, around 2 years now, Duncan. So I guess, yeah, we think, as much as I can tell everyone how great this might be for them, you're by far one of the better people to reflect on the good, the bad, and the ugly of your experience over the last year or two.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Matt. Hi, everybody. Thanks very much. As Matt said, I'm a service improvement lead in planning here in Newcastle. We've been part of the Open Digital Planning community for 2 years. We've really benefited from the collaborative culture that's been fostered and developed by all of the partners and led really ably by Matt and the team there. The collegiate spirit underpinned by a strong belief in, we sort of live and breathe Agile Manifesto has led to significant benefits for us. It hasn't all been plain sailing, and sometimes we find ourselves caught between where the open sea meets the rocky shore and the headland. But I think you can always be assured of a warm welcome and an embrace in the ODP port. You really can. And so for a number of reasons, we're not live with some of the key open digital planning products, but we came on the journey. We've worked with others to innovate, improve, iterate, help to build, and we've watched them grow, and soon we'll be launching. And we've found that the real benefits of ODP are in the approach and strength of community, as Matt said. It's enabled and inspired us to have a much better understanding of what good looks like, whether that's your back office, legacy system, software development. It's helped us mitigate against the challenge of many problems, scarce resources, which are common to local authorities, by identifying the common problems and needs that we've needed to be addressed. And the level of participation has been just so customizable. So, we're able to be an initiator, leader, active partner, product tester, keen watcher, just interested adopter. We are feeding user needs into products that we aren't currently using, and we're not even significantly developing them, but we think they might solve a number of our current pain points in the future. So we're feeding that in. I've mentioned about, we also have learned how to consciously focus our energies on impact and effort, so it's proportionate and delivers tangible benefits. And it's led to a real feel-good factor for the people who are involved in the open digital work here in Newcastle and beyond. We've also, it's expanded our ability to collaborate internally and externally. So we're connecting the dots, not just on products here, but in data, in planning, in relationship management. It's led us to be involved with Alan Turing and Geospatial Commission online demonstrator projects. We're in the prop tech space around our virtual Gateshead Newcastle and 3D modelling and printing, and it's informed our local plan development, design code, commissioning on digital SAT healer replacements, and we've also been part of a self-organising group of LPAs who share similar back office systems to try and leverage in change with a particular supplier. But again, in summary, I guess for me, it's all been about the community and the collaboration. So I know that I can go on Slack, I can huddle, I can connect with people in Gloucester, in Doncaster, Camden, Medway, and we can all help towards this product development and contribute to the overall journey of open digital planning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Duncan. I imagine that many of you, especially if you're based in the Northeast, will see Duncan at various points over the year. But yeah, Duncan, I hope you're able to stick around for Q&A later in case there's some specific questions for you as well.
Matt, I'd love to, but I'm actually here at the Mining Institute because I'm meeting with one of your colleagues today to talk about our next event. So I'll be in and out, I hope.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us up to this point,
It's a pleasure.
Duncan.
Good luck,
appreciate
everybody.
it.
Thank you.
So now I'll go into a little bit of the detail. I'll start introducing the detail at least, and my colleagues can go even deeper. So what to expect from the next activities in the Digital Planning Improvement Fund? Well, I think as hopefully you will know what you signed up for, and this is a decent summary of some of the key points. So you're here to join this community, but also to begin understanding your digital planning maturity by completing a dedicated maturity assessment that our team has put together and already tested with 25 of the local authorities we've been working with. Off the back of that, you'll create an action plan to really make a bit of a strategy and a play towards what you might do to improve that maturity over time. Publish some key data sets that are part of that, where we've got dedicated support from our planning data team. As I say, come to some community events and take part in different activities. Identify what training you want to do, and just generally learn a bit more about technology and data and planning, so you'll feel better informed, better educated, and better set to have conversations with various different people in and outside your organisation in the future. The journey towards these key steps is something I think is briefly worth reflecting on. So this is what things looked like a year ago for people, without putting the detail on the screen, because I had a slide that had that before and it was far too difficult to understand. But effectively, previously we had 8 different steps where local authorities would start working with us and would, at the end of it, have launched a new piece of software, whether with their existing supplier or a new piece of software. Underneath either of those were at least half a dozen specific activities. And as you can imagine, through this, we learned kind of how overwhelming it was, even though despite our best efforts to put this down and provide some really clear guidance, the reality is that there are some really key areas where we noticed that people got stuck. Those range from things like getting your team set up, maybe even getting the right internal approvals to really get the resources in place, improving data and then publishing that data, and then later on making technical decisions or even getting involved in procurement. As a result of that, we've broken down those 8 steps with God knows how many supporting actions into much more tangible activities, which look a bit like this, and then have an opportunity for you to begin considering and talking to us about what you might want to do beyond those. So kind of gone through these already. So join the community, understand the maturity of your service, publish data access training, and then become as invested or as uninvested, I suppose, but we hope you'll get quite invested and start getting involved in the community in various different ways. And you'll hear from my colleagues what that involves in a moment. What does success look like for you over the next 6 to 12 months? Well, it's going to be progress against milestones in your action plan. These will be milestones that you set yourselves, but that you communicate to us. And so we'll be coming to you, working out and trying to understand where you've got to. We want to have that collaborative relationship with you so that we're supporting you, but also understanding where you might be blocked and who can help you to unblock things at various points. And exactly the same principles apply to data publication, where you'll have, like I say, some support and various resources from our planning data team in DLUC. Hopefully you'll become an active participant in community activities and use the resources to attend regional and other relevant events around the country. You're going to be baselining your digital planning maturity, but we also hope that in time you'll be able to reassess yourselves and hopefully demonstrate some improvements. That will be a massive signifier of success for all of us. And then last but not least, baselining some key planning metrics if you want to continue to go on to look at other opportunities and to get some more funding from DLUC. And that's something we can come back to much further down the line as is relevant for you. We spoke about this, I think I showed this exact slide at the welcome event, but it's valuable to talk about risk reporting and progress. I think our view generally, the way that we hope to set up the relationship with yourselves is that little and often reporting is much better than leaving you alone for 6 months and then expecting a 50-page interim report. So it looks a bit like this, that you'll set up your own project plan and risk log. I'm sure you were going to do that anyway, because I know that it's required of so many council projects anyway. That you'll share progress updates via Microsoft Form every 4 weeks, and then also every 4 weeks, but alternating every 2 weeks, a written monthly note. This is really important because this is the bit when you're visibly communicating with everyone else where you've got to, and so that your neighbouring authorities or others that are experiencing similar challenges are able to really kind of see what you're doing, how you're addressing them, maybe how you've resolved them, and therefore able to check in with you. You will have access to a community manager who will run group monthly check-ins with you, chance to come and talk collectively about progress. So it's not just all asynchronous as a kind of written up month note, and loads of opportunities we hope to take part in different community activities and attend show and tells, lunch and learns, and other things that hopefully just support you on the way. Like I say, little and often reporting is kind of the order of the day, and it's important for a few reasons. These 5 points really are up here because they're actually reflecting things that we often get asked and have been asked in the past. So progress sharing is important because we often hear from local authorities that they want to know where other local authorities are at in their journey. So being able to record that and demonstrate that and share it with others, that provides value to everyone. Insight sharing is important because, of course, you probably all want to know what others are learning from their journey as well. Having access to the right support helps you work out who can help you. How you can share knowledge is an important part of community building and ensuring everyone benefits. And then last but not least, there's definitely an opportunity to shape DLUC's thinking and influence policy and influence the direction of our work towards a better future for planning. And your work really has an important impact, especially in an election year. I think it's really worthwhile to say that because at the moment we are entering the 3rd year of our funded programme, and what we want to be able to do naturally is to provide more funding for digital planning improvements across the country and more funding for yourselves if possible. So your success helps us show the Treasury and our department and other central government departments the impact that this work is having so that we can get more political support, more funding. Help shows people within the programme team, beyond just myself and my immediate colleagues, the impact of this work so that we can start to come to you and begin conversations around what other opportunities exist. Are they funded? Are they unfunded? It might not matter to you. It might not matter to us, but there might be great ways that we can continue to collaborate going forwards. And so we'd love to be aware of your impact on that. But last but not least, and perhaps most importantly, it's about showing the rest of the sector what the benefits of all of this work can look like. So we can make the case for change, whether that is internal business cases, whether that's bringing others on the journey, I would say outside of central and local government, people like the Planning Inspectorate, for example, some statutory consultees, and how we can just support everyone across the whole industry to improve and to scale some of the benefits that are being seen. So you're going to see a few people today and a lot of people you'll be working with really closely. Here's an assortment of those. got people like myself, you've got people from the data team, such as Swati, Matt, Rachel, and Jimmy, and people from our community team who are going to introduce themselves later on, such as Eva, Sarah, Brody, and Chess. And so I'm going to pass you on to Nish in a moment. These are the different stages of the journey, broken down a bit more. And you're going to hear about the digital maturity side of things and the data publication side of things in detail over the course of the next hour or so. And so, Nish, I think I am passing over to you to introduce the digital planning maturity assessment.
Thank you very much, Matt. I'm also going to take over the screen seamlessly right now. So just give me a second to do that, please. Boom. Okay, so Sarah, Norman, can I get a thumbs up that you can see my screen, please? Thank you. Great.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, so hi, I'm Nish. I've been working on this program with these lovely people for almost a year now. And a lot has happened.
We can't hear you, Nish.
You can't hear me. Okay.
We
I
can hear
can.
you, Nish. Yeah, it's okay. Sarah's got a technical problem on her laptop.
Okay, grand. Thank God for that. Okay, sorry, Sarah. I'll have to catch you up on this later. So I'm Nish. Been on this program for a while, working with these lovely people that you're going to get to know over the course of the next couple of months. And the program looked very different a while ago, as Matt has already mentioned. There were far fewer councils. We did things slightly differently. But a lot of what I've been doing over the past year is working with everyone in this team to basically bring a lot more structure to this, build it up so that you guys can benefit from all the good things that all the LPAs and everyone in the team has put into this program, so that the whole journey feels a bit more smooth and seamless for you guys and you have the right support along the way. So Matt has mentioned the DPMA, or the Digital Planning Maturity Assessment, a couple of times. Always raises a lot of eyebrows, and it's quite a mouthful as well. But I'm hoping to actually explain to you today, finally, that what is it really? And hopefully you'll go away thinking that, oh, it's actually much more simple than I thought it was, because we're not building a rocket. So let's get into this now. Okay, so this is kind of that second step of the journey, just to highlight where we're going, or where we're at rather. Next slide. Okay, cool. So first, some definitions. So digital planning, for the purposes of this, obviously all of these can be up for debate, but so that we're all slightly on the same page. Digital planning, we're describing as the broad use of digital technologies and ways of working to modernize England's planning system. Now, what do we mean when we say maturity? That's such a big word and can mean a lot of different things, but the context for us is that it measures the ability of your planning department specifically to continuously improve. So all that means in a nutshell is that chances are the higher your maturity, the higher are the chances that incidents or errors will lead to improvements. And that's basically what we're trying to do with this, is basically to get a gauge on where are we at right now as a planning department, where do we think we can go in a reasonable time frame? And we have some tools that we've designed for you to help you do that. Okay, so what is it really? What really is the DPMA? So there's a guide, there's a form that you fill out, and then there's an action plan. Those are the three things that you need to do for this. All of it's already designed. You don't need to do your own action plan, like design it yourself. All you need to do is fill it in. You fill in the form. There's clear instructions on how to do that. And if you get stuck, there are people on hand that can help, if one of your peers hasn't already figured it out for you. So all it is a series of 30 questions that aim to assess how your planning department specifically currently uses digital practices in its day-to-day operations. Very important point here, it's comprehensive but not exhaustive. So there will definitely be things in there that you're like, oh, why didn't they include this? Why didn't they include that? I would love to hear that feedback. But the way that we've been designing this is that it's been built, designed, concepted with all the LPAs in this program already. They've tested it out as best as they can. So those 25 that Matt mentioned have all filled it out, had their results back, tested it out. And actually now it looks quite different to what they filled out. The one that they filled out was a lot more bare bones. This is a lot more of a fully fledged kind of maturity assessment. However, when you spot things as you go through it, please note those things down because we want to hear about it. This is forever kind of evolving. There's still so many LPAs not in this program that we would love them to be able to fill this out at some point as well. So just bear that in mind as you go through it. And that's the main thing to know there. So why are we asking to do this? What will you achieve by doing this? Very common question and a valid question as well. So the main thing here is, I just want to start with saying this is not like a marking down exercise. This is not like, oh, the results are going to go to Deluxe, so we need to look good. Forget about all of that. Don't waste your time doing it if that's the way that you think that you're going to approach it. What this really is, it's a tool. It's a reflection tool for you guys, just to get a baseline on like, okay, probably been a while, if ever, that you've done something like this in your planning department. So all it is for you to sit there, get some of the people in your team together and say, right, where do we think we're at across these different little areas? And I'll show you what that means in more detail in a sec. And it's really to get a baseline. So understand, where are you starting out at? And maybe in 6 months, a year, you might have the opportunity to redo it and understand that, okay, it's taken us this long to go from a 1 to a 3 in this area. Maybe it's going to be another 6 to 12 months before we can go to a 4 or 5 or whatever it is. And yeah, I think by doing that, it's kind of, you're not just coming into this and saying, oh, let's do some good stuff. It's like, let's try and do some good stuff, but also get a measurement of it and understand how it's going, because that will not only help you, but also help the program to improve like how we support you guys going forward. So a couple of other things is like, at the end of it, you'll be able to create a self-driven action plan. There's a template for that. I'll show you in a sec. Set some realistic timeframes as well for the next steps as part of that action plan. And most importantly is get access to external support and resources to help you get there. So there's, number one, a lot of people in this community that have a lot of knowledge on planning and things that they've tried, figured out, solutions that they've come up with that can help. But we've also tried to link out to things in the market, so PAS and all these places where they have really good resources that maybe you've not discovered yet. Okay, so that's some of the things you'll achieve. Now, before I go into kind of showing you the thing and all that sort of stuff, I think an important thing to understand is how these maturity levels work. So there's two little, I shouldn't really call them diagrams because they're quite simplistic. The left line or bar that you can see there has 5 points on it. The way that this maturity assessment is designed is that, yes, you do get a number against a lot of these areas to say you're a 1, you're a 3, you're a 4, you're a 5. That doesn't mean that the levels are discrete in themselves. You can happily be between levels. You might be like, oh, we're kind of a 3, but maybe we're a bit of a 4 because we're kind of doing a bit more than what they describe as a 3. That's completely fine. But this is just a model. It's just to keep it simple. We've got 5 levels, but in reality, it's probably the right bar with the gradient where it's like you could be anywhere along that curve or trajectory, I guess is the word. Anyway, so that's a good thing to understand before you get into actually filling this out. Now, another thing to note, it's normal to not be starting at the same level, even if it's in the same team, same department, same council. It's okay. There's going to be areas where you're like, you know what, data and insights, we're a 1. That's probably why you signed up for this funding. I don't know. Maybe in other areas like leadership, you're like, actually, we're pretty good. We've got some good leaders here. We're a 4. That's okay. You don't have to be a 3 across the board or a 2 across the board. No one's looking at this and being like, oh, that council there, you know, they're a 1 in everything. Not sure we should have them on this program. That's the reason we want you on this program, is because we want to help you get to a 5. And it's a continual improvement journey as well. It's not like a 1 and done exercise. Okay, so you're probably sat there thinking, I'm lost. So now I'm going to show you actually how does it work and how do you complete this thing. What will happen after today is you will get an email on Thursday with a link to everything that I've spoken about and everything you need to know to actually go and complete the thing. And I'll talk to you about timelines in a sec as well. So we're going to do a little demo, hence the rocket. And I'm going to try and do this seamlessly by sharing other tabs with you. Okay, so how do you complete it? The first thing is you need to read the guide to the DPMA, because actually it's not just reading. There's some stuff you need to do in there before you fill the actual form out. Second thing, once you've read the guide, once you've done the work that's in the guide, involve people that you need to involve, you complete the actual form itself. That then gets submitted to us. We do some crazy stuff in the background to get your results processed, and then we'll send it back out to you. Once we send it back out to you, then you'll have your action plan template as well that you can start to fill out based on what your results are telling you. Okay, so let's go and look at the first screen that you're going to receive in that email. So, okay, so this is what we call the hub for the program. Now, the hub is something that is going to be talked through in this call later on after the break. But I'm just jumping into one very specific page on this hub, which is pretty much like a website that's just for you guys to use. And that page is called Complete the Digital Planning Maturity Assessment. So this is how it looks. A lot of the information that I'm talking through now exists in here already. In fact, all of it, probably more. And the way it's been designed is that it's completely self-guided. So you should be able to look at this, sit down and say, okay, I know what we need to do first. I know what we need to do second. I know how to submit this thing. Right, so what is the DPMA? It explains a bit about it to you there, what you'll achieve, which is what I've just been through with you already. Now, the very first step of what you actually have to do is read the guide and do the actions that are kind of laid out in that guide. Now, when you click on that guide, it will download a PowerPoint because everyone loves a PowerPoint. And actually, that was the easiest way for us to get this information across. And that PowerPoint will look like this. I'll have to stop sharing to share another screen. That will look like this. Here we go. Cool. And Sarah, Norman, just give me a thumbs up, please, that you can see the. Okay, grand. So this is what the guide looks like. This is an offline thing. It will work on pretty much any computer. If you have problems with it, of course, shout, but we don't anticipate that there should be too many problems with this. And what this guide is it's basically an offline version that has all the questions and actually all the answers that exist in the digital planning maturity assessment. Why did we send this out to you? Reason why is because when we first started putting this thing together, we had some really, really useful feedback from some LPAs that said, actually, I don't know the answer myself as a planning officer sitting here doing this on ODP. I don't know the answer to all of these things. Actually, I need to go and speak to my data GIS person. I need to go and speak to my IT person. I need to go and speak to my procurement person to get a more accurate answer on this. So now what we're doing is actually, we've got the DPMA split into kind of these different sections that you can see on the right, which is kind of digital and design skills, technology and products, data and insights, procurement, leadership and governance, culture and ways of working, citizen engagement and working with others. And then there's a couple of open questions at the end. Now, for each of those areas, what we do is we have a slide that looks like this. Now, this has all the different questions that we'll be asking along the top. This big thing here in the top right tells you who do we recommend fills this out. This is just a suggestion. It doesn't have to be this person. We appreciate that people will have different role titles, different things that they do in your council that may not be the same. But we're just giving you this as a guide to say, typically digital and design skills, the questions we're asking, we think your planning officers could answer them pretty accurately. But if you think you want to pull other people into the room, by all means do that. So what we're doing is questions along the top. And then on the left here, we've got some different levels. So it goes beginning, emerging, learning, developing, and mastering. And then these boxes here are all the kind of responses that you could potentially choose against one of these answers. So it's kind of like a column format. All you have to do is, for example, say we're talking about your data and insights one. You can see here it says, we recommend that you sit down with your GIS and data lead on this. We recommend that you sit down with your GIS and data lead. So what you do is you go and tick these boxes, make sure you've got all the answers that you need. And then once you've done this, you've got basically 4 weeks to do this whole thing. Once you've done this, then you can flick to the actual form itself. So filling out the form itself, Sarah, can you see the form? Yeah, so the form itself looks like this. And it's pretty straightforward. Once you've done it, you'll be able to go in there, and I'm just gonna, in the interest of time, because I do.
Sorry, no, I'm wrong. We're still seeing the instructions.
Okay, cool.
But
No
while
worries.
I'm off
Let me
mute, we
just-
could do with moving slightly quicker. Sorry, Nish. I know this is
Yeah.
horrible of me.
That's fine. This is what I do. I just derail calls everywhere.
Yes,
So,
this is the form.
so this is the form. So the form looks like this. Now, all you'll see in here is it's a live version of what you've seen in the PowerPoint. You just need to hit the right number that you've decided with your GIS officer or with whoever. Eventually, you'll go through this whole form, you hit submit, and it comes back to us. Now, you've got 4 weeks to do all of that. Once it comes back to us, we'll do some results processing and we'll send you back your results. and those results will look like this. So here's an example of Planchester Council. They went and filled out their maturity assessment. They got the results back. It tells them what's in this guide. This you'll have more time to get into in your own time. I'm going to speed through it right now, but you've basically got 3 tabs. The first tab tells you, how did you do? How did you score? Gives you a bit of a summary of what that might look like for you. And it gives you kind of this radial diagram of how is it at a snapshot level. The next thing is, based on what you've scored, we give you some recommended actions that you might want to look into. There's a couple different resources like read this for technology and products. Maybe you want to check out this guide from Paz around principles to manage your back office system, for example. And then last but not least is the action plan template. This will be something that is self-guided. You fill it out yourself based on what your kind of individual context is. Okay, fine. So I'm going to stop sharing that and go back into the slides before I hand you back to Sarah and team. Cool. So the final thing I'm going to say to you is about the timelines. So I've already kind of mentioned, this is just a recap of all the things that we breezed through quickly. So how long does it take? We recommend you take 4 weeks to gather up the information, get people in a room, answer the questions in the offline guide, and then before the 4 weeks is up, just go and submit it in the live form. That's all you need to do. Everything else will happen after that. So action plan and things will send you more comms after that to figure out how you want to do it, if you need support, all that sort of stuff. And then there's some timelines around how long the results take and things like that, 10 to 15 business days typically. If you can't meet this deadline, very important, please raise this with your community manager in the first risk meeting that you have. If you feel like these timelines are too short for me, I can't do it, people are away, people are sick, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so next steps, you'll get that email on Thursday, and that will explain everything that I've explained today. If you have any questions, you can always come back to us and let us know. But I'm hoping everything is self-explanatory. I'm going to stop talking and ask anyone if there are any questions based on what I've just said. That was a lot of information, so I appreciate that some of you might be processing. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, just stick your hand up, pop them in the chat, or come off mute and just ask. Yeah, I think there's a question from Umbreen.
Yeah, hi. Just really wanted to ask, and I'm probably this will have been asked before, but just looking at those statements, if it's not quite clear, and you could have a possible answer for one or another, you know, how would that be recorded, I suppose? So I think one of the things that I saw just there was like, you know, do you have a team that focuses on something digital or something like that? And maybe part of the service does, maybe part of it doesn't. Would there be sort of, you know, or is this a discussion for, you know, our sort of?
No, that's, I can probably quickly try and answer that. I think I understand like the nub of the question. So in that scenario, what we'd try and recommend you do is, rather than maybe trying to just think through it yourself, what's been helpful for other LPAs is that they sit down actually with other planning officers or with someone else that knows a bit more maybe. And if they have disagreements, someone says, oh, we're 2 here, or maybe we're 3, someone else says, actually just take the average and just go with your gut. It's not scientific, obviously, but just go with the one where you think actually, by and large, we're mostly here. If it's 50-50, then it's your call whether you round up or down. But really, it's not like a scientific exercise. Don't worry if it's not like, oh, we're a perfect 2 or a perfect 3. It's normal that people are between things as well.
Okay. All right, that's fine.
Chanel.
Hello.
No worries.
Thanks, Nish. There's a question from Zoe. So keen to do as quickly as possible, but approaching Easter, when we expect a lot of relevant people will be on leave.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So if you think there's going to be a lot of people on leave, so what we've done is we've given 4 weeks, appreciating that, yeah, about a week of that is probably going to be Easter. So really you'll have 3 weeks to get this information together. Councils who have previously done this have found that that's enough time. So we've kind of tried to give a bit extra. If you really think it's going to be too tight for you, then as I said, just raise that with your community manager in the first instance when you meet them and say, listen, I think this deadline, there's people away for 3 weeks that actually we're going to really need for this. And that's something that we can try and accommodate as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Right, I'm really mindful of time. I can see Jane Roberts has, and also Alison have put their questions in the chat. What we'll do is we will save those for the end of the session and ensure that we cover those. I'd like to pass on to Swati, who's going to go through data now.
Thanks, Chanel. I will also share my screen and try to do as good as Nish did. So hopefully you can see my screen and the slide.
Yeah, we can see.
Hi everyone, I'm Swati. I'm part of planning data team, and our team's aim is to make land and housing data easier to find, understand, use, and trust. So this is the platform, our planning data platform. So and you can say there are like several data sets we have got in our platform. We collect data from local authorities and some other authoritative source. So I'll recommend you go to this platform and explore. We have got several data sets we have got from Historic England, Land Registry, Department of, DEFRA, flood risk zones and other things we have added in past year. And I have also worked with local authorities in previous funding round to collect other data sets, what you will all be working towards. Bit on, like I said, we have got several data sets from local planning authorities and other authoritative sources. And we believe that this data would make help us to better planning decisions, fewer uncertainty and delays in housing system, more new digital service for property and planning, and better relationship between communities and developments. What we are asking you to do is, as part of this funding, we are asking you to provide these 4 main data sets, which are, if you kind of add all of those, it becomes 8 data sets. So again, would recommend you to go to the guidance sections to have a look at our guidance. So this is our guidance. These are the 4 data sets we are asking you to provide. If you click here, there are like 2 other data sets. You can go and find out what fields are needed. And there is proper guidance to follow while you are preparing the data. I don't have to worry about this now. And then if you go to the technical specifications, this is our data standard team is responsible to set the standard and create this. So this is kind of, you can see more information on the technical specifications as well. So these are the data sets we are asking you to provide. Why are we asking it? Because obviously, as you all know, this is the expectations and it's part of your funding. But apart from that, these data sets will be mandated soon by the Levelling Up and Regeneration Act. If you kind of are openly publishing the data set, it reduces the freedom of information's request. Over time, openly publishing dataset will reduce requests from similar initiative, so that we all have the one initiative and we have all the datasets in one place rather than different government departments having different initiatives. And like Matt said, you will have access to ODP products such as PlanX to reduce the amount of resources required to process the planning applications. So this is how your journey would look like. So you would, the step 1 would be to prepare your data. As you saw in the guidance, it is like for your GIS team to have a look at the guidance, check what fields you have got or not, and then, start preparing your data sets. This is a new one. Check your data. For previous councils, we did not have this service. I'll demo you in a bit. But you can check your data. You can upload your data to our portal. Check if it is ready for publishing or not. And then work on your data again after you have checked it. And then once it is ready, you would send us the link, and then we'll publish the data on the platform I showed in the beginning. So I'll show you the demo, and this is how it looks. This is where I think all these links will be on the ODP hub. So, you can always go and have a look. So this is so that you can provide data sets in 2 different format. You could have a physical file like a CSV, GeoJSON, GML or Geo package. Or also you can also send us a link, which could be a ArcGIS layer or a WFS layer. So once you are ready, whichever way you are, let's say for the purpose of this demo, I'm kind of showing you testing a physical file. These are the data sets, and I'm kind of trying to show you the conservation area data set. So you choose the data set you are preparing on ready to test. Then you can choose either you want to upload a file or a URL. So in this case, I'm kind of uploading a file. And then choose a file. And continue. So this would look like this, and I can purposely, I have kind of added some errors so that it is kind of, you can see how it comes up with errors. So it would tell us what are the data errors, summarize it in the top, and then also explain what it means a little bit more. So it's like you can clearly see that geometry is missing here. Even if geometry is there, there is like formatting issues. And then it will tell us like, tell you like these, which fields are missing and what format it should be. For example, start date, cannot be in future or things like that. So then if you kind of, let's say you are in this situation and then you want to update your data, you can then upload a new version. And then once you have fixed your data, you would go, oh, I knew something like this is going to happen in the demo. And let's say you have now improved or changed your data and uploaded it again. So this would look like this, so that it is like you have fixed all the errors. You can see your conservation area, for example, for any of the geographical data set, you can see them on the map. And it would say that, 46 rows can be published now. Obviously, at this stage, you would say that, okay, it is ready to be published. And then it takes you to the next page, which is like, okay, send those links. So you have to publish your data set on your LPA website. So there is instructions in the guidance. I don't want to go into detail right now. There would be more opportunities to go through that. But once you have done that, you would send out those information to this email ID, and then our team will publish it, and you can see your data on the planning data platform. So that's the journey, what it looks like. I'm sure that there will be more information on support you would get in future while you are preparing and publishing your data. But that's me. If you have any questions, please. I can't see anything, but Chanel, can you help?
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe we have a question from Jackie Whelan.
I'm Jackie Whelan from Bolton Council, Conservation Officer. To be honest, that was very confusing. I really don't know. Hopefully we'll be able to find out a bit more. I really did not get the sense. So I got the sense it was geospatial data, is that right? But all conservation areas of conservation area appraisals, and I think we signed up to try and digitize those. They are very old PDF documents. So I'm hoping there will be more informational help going forward. So I'm just a little bit confused by all this, to be honest. And also I have noticed in the chat, so Historic England have all the listed buildings on their data set. Obviously those are point datas and not curtilages. Again, who identifies curtilage is a massive project and is not always clear cut. So again, I think there's a lot of difficulties with these data sets. And again, with Article 4 directions, it's all the background text and documents that go with all that and how they will be digitized and made available. It's not clear to me at all.
So is it like, yeah, I can understand if the documents, data sets, or the PDFs and stuff are confusing for you, but GeoJSON and other spatial data sets, if you have them, that's not quite different than, you know, we have got it from Historic England. What we have realized is that their data is not up to date and as correct as LPA holds them. So what I showed you demo was for a geographic data set for conservation area where it is checking the geometry and stuff. But there is, like, if you are asking about the other associated, you know, data set, which kind of includes documents that can be prioritized later. So you can provide us the document data set, sorry, the geographic data set first, and then work towards working on the document data set, if that makes any sense.
Okay, it's just the document data. The document refers to specific parts of a conservation area, and then we'll have, so it's how that can be mapped as well. So there'll be, like, you know, important buildings, views, you know, there's all sorts of information.
I would
and it's
suggest,
how all that is then translated as well. So it's having both, and I think it's not just about the PDF document, is if we are digitizing those, they have to be done in a certain way so they can be easily then transformed into a geospatial data set. So we're not doing it all again. I don't know, it just seems,
I think, yeah,
it's very
it is.
confusing at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you have to go through the guidance and send your questions, Jackie, and then we can take it. I mean, it is an initial intro sections, and it is, I think it is all too much information at this point anyway.
What I would suggest, Swati, sorry to interrupt, what I would suggest is that we are able to take your questions, as Swati said, Jackie, and we will work with you to go through that. But we will make sure that they are answered. Matt, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I think it's just worth, thanks for all the questions and all the questions in the chat as well, which are beautifully specific. So we know we're working with all the right people, because I don't think we have all of the answers here. I think a lot of this is kind of an iterative journey and a sector-wide challenge. So this question around, yeah, curtilage or polygon data versus point data with Historic England is a known conversation that's happening between DLUHC, Historic England, and with other local authorities involved. And the more you're able to contribute towards those conversations, the better the ultimate outcome is going to be. So I think there is definitely an aspect of, like, continuing to learn and develop, especially the support service throughout this. So we don't have all of the answers today, and that's what these funded projects are for. It's not just about delivery, it is about learning, and learning for everyone.
Thank you very much. Right, as you will note in the chat, there are lots and lots of questions, and we will answer these at the end. Also, we have given you space for a 10-minute break, so make yourself a brew, go and grab some chocolate hobnobs, and we will see you back at 2:15. Thanks very much. See you in a minute. Hello, you have 1 minute and a few seconds. So if you'd like to start making your way back to the session, that'd be amazing. Okay, welcome back to the ODP session. What we will be doing is I'll be passing over to Kelly, who's going to discuss how to navigate ODP as a whole. So welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Chanel. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly. So I've been working in the programme for the last about 6 months, supporting 9 LPAs developing service improvements, and also working as part of the team who, through learning lots, working with the LPAs, have started to shape the tools and platforms and structures that we are going to use to support LPAs navigate the ODP, not only to deliver the actions that colleagues have introduced today, but also to help find answers to questions that you have, and also to foster that collaborative way of working more broadly. So in this section, I'm really just going to provide you with an overview of the different support offers in place to help you carry out the activities. As you can see on screen, there are 3 main types of support that we are providing. There's the self-service support that Nish started to introduce earlier on, but is kind of your immediate go-to support to get started, which we'll discuss in more detail. There's also peer support, which you'll use more and more, I guess, as the programme goes on and you become more integrated with the programme and the rest of the LPAs working on it. And then there's also DLUX support, which will come into action at certain moments and when needed. So delving into these a little bit more and starting with the self-service support. As you are aware, there are now over 100 LPAs working in the different focuses areas, from product, from service improvement, from prop tech, all within this programme. And to manage this number of councils, the support provided needs to predominantly be self-service, where LPAs are able to act proactively. You'll be able to complete your digital planning maturity assessment, your action plan, and publish your data sets and carry out training proactively, without lots of support, without lots of guidance, just being able to get on with it. So a lot of work has gone into creating guides, resources and tools that enable you just to get on with it. And these are all held and organised in a purpose-built website for you. And that purpose-built website is the ODP Hub. So the ODP Hub, or the Open Digital Planning Hub, it's been designed specifically for those who have received the funding. It is an accessible way to access those information and tools that you're going to need to help you on your journey towards modern planning practices and to get the activities done that we've gone through today. It is currently a closed site, meaning that only individuals whose emails we have added to the list can access it. So it's really just for people, LPAs that are working with, and we funded at the minute currently. You will use it to access resources and guidance through each stage of the journey. We've created a bit of a step-by-step process which will guide you through each of the activities that you're meant to do. You can also access tools and training through there to improve your digital planning maturity, and also learn a lot more about the digital planning programme and really delve into the things that Matt introduced initially at the start of this session. You will receive access to this site tomorrow. So you're going to receive an email with a link in, and this email will go to the main contacts whose emails we already have. We're very aware that there are other people on your team who are going to need access to this. So we've created a form, and you'll be able to fill that in with everyone's emails who needs to access this, and that will be updated. That will be coming out tomorrow, and you'll be able to add everyone, and you can all go and dive in. Rather than me talking about it, I'll just stop sharing this one for a second. I'm actually going to give you a bit of a demo of the hub itself. So bear with me 1 second. Perfect. Okay. So this is the hub. If you can't see it, someone shout out. Otherwise, hopefully it's all there. So the Open Digital Planning Hub. I won't go through everything. I think you've been given a lot of information this afternoon and things are going to stick. But this is just to give you a little bit of a preview of what's coming, and you can definitely get access this tomorrow, go in, have a nose around. Essentially, this site obviously is for everybody who is been funded in some way. So that's pre-existing LPAs and also everyone that's new, everyone that's joined, everyone that's here to do their data work. This main page is for everyone. There's things about resources, ways of working. You can search the site if you go to this little search icon. If there's a specific thing that you're looking for, hit this search bar and you can type it into. There's going to be updates in here. Newsletters will be saved in here. Everything you can imagine that's been produced by this program will all exist within here. There are dashboards that look at progress. You'll be able to check them out, see where other councils are up to and what they've been working on, like existing councils and new ones. There's guidance and training that you can access. You can connect with us on social media. Everything kind of sits within this one place. The bit that is most important for you, for the people in this room today, is the step-by-step guide to getting started. So I know we've been through a lot today, but this should really all have been captured within this one site. So this is where it all begins. Welcome to the ODP community. You will be able to find the decks, the recordings of today's session within here. You can rewatch them, you can look at the decks, you can really go into the detail. You can start to find out the people leading ODP and know who you're going to be working with. You'll learn more about how it's structured, and you can read advice from other LPAs, so people who've already been through this type of work and worked on these programs. You can know more about that. Setting yourself and your team up with the ODP tools. In here's a lot of detail about all the different tools that we use and how to use them, and whether that's getting started with Slack or anything else in terms of the meetings. We'll go into more into the meetings shortly, but everything is all in here. I won't click through too much. I'll just give you the overview. Your community managers that you're going to be working with, there's a little bit more about them within these pages as well. In terms of setting up and kind of kicking off your project and your work that you're doing, there's guidance about how to do that. Some of them suggestions, some of them we'd recommend follow. It is all in there to break this down for you. And then guidance and advice about how to track and share progress and what that entails. Nish went through this earlier on, so that's the digital maturity stuff. That's in there, one of the earliest things to do. Click in, crack on, everything's just listed, everything's detailed about all the actions you should take. And then Swati, I know Swati only introduced a partial part of all the support and guidance that is around the data work. So much more is in here in terms of identifying, cleaning and publishing, and how to get data support, the important ones. So actually, what are the meetings, where are the drop-ins, and who you can contact to get further support with any data work that you're undertaking. Once that's kind of underway, you can access training opportunities. These may link to your digital planning maturity assessment, and you can start to go and see what's on offer and how you can increase that maturity with different training offers available. Sharing your projects. Again, won't go through this now, but we're very much in terms of collaboration, sharing what we've done, sharing the challenges, sharing the successes, and there's opportunities and moments to do this. So, and then future opportunities, way ahead, but there are opportunities in the future, as Matt kind of introduced after the data work's done. What next? Where can you go? How can we work together further? You can start to explore what some of those look like. I will leave it there for now and recommend that everyone kind of goes through it once they get that access tomorrow. And I will just go back to the slide deck. If that's not showing, everyone give me a shot or a wave, otherwise I'll just continue.
We can see it.
Perfect, thanks Chanel. So that was a bit of a demo on that one. The next area is peer support. So this is essentially the rest of the LPA teams and individuals undertaking this journey with you. The people you can call on are in this room right now. So you are now part of the biggest community for digital planning in the country. It's a fantastic opportunity to make use of that knowledge, expertise and experience that exists within this group. Being part of the programme so far has shown me so much that if you have a challenge, someone else has probably started to work to solve it, and you can actually start to really build on the knowledge that exists. And half this programme, so much of what Matt said, is just about bringing people together, elevating those issues, taking those lessons and actually trying to disseminate them across the whole country without having to reinvent the wheel each time. So this is what we try to create, the right environment, and being quite intentional about how people can do that. So how are we actually going to do that? We've decided to go with Slack. It's a popular communications tool that allows you to essentially communicate one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many depending on how you break down the different channels or groups that are within there. So it's a really great platform to access and share resources, gain support, how and when you need to from certain peers to speak to certain topics at certain moments. There's so much noise, there's so many things you're probably going to want to talk about. What we've tried to do is to curtail some of that and put people into the right groups speaking about the right things, and Slack's just a really great tool to do that. So through Slack, you'll be able to essentially connect with others in this group, share those questions, share those challenges, go to people who are a bit further advanced than you, find out what they did, what was their approach, have that conversation with the people who actually know most about this, receive updates from your community managers, so things will be coming at you in terms of information, and then stay up to date on the progress and changes across the programme. So some of it is information given, most of it is two-way, and lots of conversations and chats. I will say things like this, you kind of, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. If you're engaged, you'll gain more. So really recommending that people engage with this. Access, again, tomorrow in the email where you're going to get the link for the hub, there will also be information that you will get in terms of Slack. I think there's a separate Slack email, so keep an eye out for that. Check spams, it'll be coming tomorrow. We'll let you know when, and if there's any issues, please do let us know, and we'll work with that. I'm not going to do a Slack demo as such, but what I did want to do is start to just give you a bit of a highlight of which groups you are going to be part of. I won't pick out them all, I'll just pick out a few of them. So as you join, we're going to pre-add you to certain groups that we think will be of most use. This may change over time, depending on the challenges, your needs, or development in your action plan. There may be certain topics you want to know more about. Those channels will exist, but for right now, we'll keep it small. As you get more comfortable and you get further ahead, then we'll start to expand out on that a little bit. So for like general information, that will all come from all LPA General, and that'll be news, announcements, they'll all be fed through there. Also, we have the digital planning improvements. So that's the one that you can interact with the local authorities on the same journey as you. They're the people doing this, and your community manager will also be in there and communicating, adding in thoughts, and being there with you on that journey. Month notes, this was introduced earlier on in terms of we're going to use Slack to have a place to update what you're doing. We tried to keep this open. It's worked really well so far. It's a very short update that each council does, and it gives all of the councils almost an eye to what people are doing and where to pick up and where to say that's interesting and where to say I want to contact them, I want to talk to them. So you'll have access to that too. What else is an important one? Digital planning, drop-in questions, very important one. After these sessions, we are going to run drop-ins about everything in the program. We realize it's been so much. You've probably got 1,000 questions. That's fine. We're running multiple questions, multiple sessions where you can come, ask those questions, save those questions. If you want them to be covered in the session, put them in this group chat if you can. That means they'll be on the list. We can collate them, and then we can start to really start with those questions that are being asked most frequently. Data support, so SWATI, again, is going to be a separate session for data support. This is the Slack channel that almost matches it, that ties into it. We tried to do meetings and Slacks that almost are twin together, add things in there. They'll definitely get put on the agenda to talk at the drop-ins if people don't have questions. You could also look at the product month notes and the PropTech month notes. Again, this is about learning, it's about sharing, it's open. We want you to see what other people are doing, and we want you to kind of know where you're going to build on and what else you can do moving forward. Other tools that you may come across. So we do work in the open. I want to keep things very collective and sharing. So we'll also use Google Meet and Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams, you're probably all very familiar with. I won't go into too much detail about that. Google Meet is just another video, voice and collaboration tool, which we do use for some of our meetings. Very simple, very easy to use. If there's any issues with access, we do have workarounds that we can support with. But just to let you know, all the guidance on these things can be found in the hub as well. So if there's anything you need to read up or unsure about, that'll be in there. Now to DLUC support. Oops, was that someone speaking? No, okay. So that's the support that DLUC, planning team and community managers are going to offer who are there to support you essentially when you need to escalate something. So you can think of these supports in terms of priority. First stop is probably self-guided hub, and then there's lots of time and space to kind of use Slack to integrate and ask questions of each other. If absolutely you need help, you can go to the DLUC support. People are there. I'm going to hand over to Eva now, who's going to talk a little bit more about this.
Amazing. Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everybody. My name is Eva O'Brien, and I'm the community lead here at DLUC. I'm really sorry if you hear hammering in the background. I chose today of all day to get carpet installed, which is really killer timing on my part. So I'm just going to talk a bit about some of the people that you're going to see day to day, week to week, month to month over the next while that we're all working together, and the roles that we'll all be playing. So as Matt mentioned earlier in our presentation, there's lots of people that you're going to be interacting with, and I'm sure you've caught that from all of the various wonderful people that have been presenting today. But on the day-to-day, the people that you're going to be interacting with the most are Brody, Chess, and myself. So your two dedicated community managers are Chess and Brody, and we'll be the ones facilitating your sessions, ensuring that you and other councils are working together on challenges, working to solve them. If you're sort of focusing in similar areas, making those connections, and also answering any questions that you might have. Now, as Kelly mentioned, there's lots of self-serve options, and there's heaps of peer support available too, but sometimes you need someone else, and those are who your community managers really are. But those are not your only friends, and I'm not your only touch point, your go-to person. You'll also probably hear from Matt and Matt. We're calling them the Mats. We have Andy and Angela, and they are also community managers working with other local authorities and other funds in the broader program. And they may be in touch from time to time to connect you and other LPAs in different ways. So regionally, we'll be bringing you together over the next few months. That's where the Mats and Andy and Angela might come in. And again, if there are councils focusing on a particular problem, they are the ones that you may hear from too. But it doesn't end there. You also will hear from the lovely Sarah as well as Christine. They'll become familiar faces, especially as we start to communicate more widely about all of your wonderful work. You should be getting a newsletter very shortly, actually, and that would come from the desk of Christine. So be sure to keep an eye out for those people as well as others, but primarily you'll hear from Chess, Brody, and myself. Okay, great. And so I am going to jump onto the next slide if that's okay, Kelly. Thank you. Which is a little bit about sort of how the community managers are going to be working with you. So Kelly mentioned we've got the self-serve options, you've got the peer support, you're organized into cohorts, into groups, and the community managers that you're going to be working with have two main responsibilities. One of them is maintaining delivery momentum with all of you, with the councils that they're working with, and they're also leading the wider delivery of community activities. So let me explain what I mean by those two things. So when we talk about delivery or momentum, that could be pace, that could be drive, that could be asking the right questions, but basically what it looks like in a nutshell, they're going to be hosting group check-ins once a month as well as retrospectives. So these group check-ins are going to be the place where if you're running into troubles, you have a blocker that you can't really address on your own, they're going to want to know about that. They may also be asking about, how progress is going overall, what the attitude is like in the rest of the local authority to your work. Are people buying in? Are they asking questions? Things like that. And then a retrospective, for those of you that haven't done one of those before, it's an agile term, but basically what that is every month we want to be reflecting on how this is all going for you folks. You're the ones that are giving your time and your energy to this program. We want to make sure it's working for you. And so this is an opportunity where we pause and we hear about what's going on, what's working well, what we could adjust, and then iterating or changing as we go. This allows us to make the program better, more suited to all of your needs, but also helps us learn on what's working and what's not working. Then you'll also be hearing a lot from the community managers, myself, your community lead, through Slack. So Kelly gave you a bit of a rundown on that, and get ready to hear a lot from me, whether you want to or not, in Slack land. That's where we'll be asking you questions, where we'll be bringing you together. And that's where you can access your community managers first and foremost, either through channels where all of the local authorities in a cohort will be, or one-to-one in direct messages. as we've mentioned, working in the open is a big part of this program. And so you may ask us a question privately, that's totally cool. We may answer it in the open just because usually another local authority might be running into the same problem. And lastly, but certainly not least on the delivery momentum thing, encouraging all of you to maintain your regular progress reporting and month notes. So that's to make sure that other folks in DLUC and elsewhere in government know what's going on in your world, what's challenging you, but also, as we mentioned, there are other people who are invested and interested in your work, making sure that we have the evidence that they need to understand what's going on in your worlds. So then let's talk about the community. This is the best part of this whole program. So community managers will support in organizing delivery of in-person events. So you saw some photos of some of the past events. We'll be meeting up regularly and often. So community managers will coordinate that, hopefully with some of your help. If you are keen to host an event, let us know. I know a few of you have already raised your hands, and that's always the absolute best. And then community managers will also be identifying opportunities for all of you to collaborate and connect, creating connections across the program. Say that 10 times fast. But if you're working on something, or if you have a problem, we're going to want to connect you with local authorities who may be working on the same problem, or who may be a little further on in their journey and have good advice. So like we heard from Dan in Newcastle, there's a lot to learn from the people who have been here before, but also when you're focusing on the same issue, it's good to get your heads together. And lastly, but again, really importantly, feeding back ideas and opportunities from all of you into the program, adjusting as we work, learning as we go. You're all the people who are doing this work day to day. We want to hear what's working and not from you, and your community managers are the ones that are going to want to hear that. I think that might be it from me. I'm really looking forward to working with all of you. And I think, Kelly, am I handing back to you again?
You are. Thanks, Eva. Last one really from me. So it's essentially building a little bit upon what Eva was saying. So we set up regular meetings in terms of some of these activities, some of these discussions we're going to have. Some are for this group alone, and some are for the wider programme. And it's really to create those specific moments and opportunities for LPAs and DLUCs to share information, lessons, and experiences with each other. I'm going through the ones that you should attend now. So these are almost like the starter pack for this group of people. There'll be an ODP general meeting, and that's for everyone in the DLUC planning team to share and discuss things that are relevant to all the councils that are taking place. That one happens every 4 weeks. There's the DPI Fund general meeting, so an opportunity for all councils working on their service improvement, which is EU people, to share, ask questions and listen to other councils' experiences, and that's going to happen fortnightly. There is the DPI Fund show and tell, so a place for councils working on the service improvement to actually share their progress and their learning, and you can kind of like self-volunteer. We'll have a bit of a system making sure everyone does get a fair chance to put something forward and talk about what they want to talk about. That again is every 4 weeks. And there's also the DPI Fund community manager meetings. So that'll be a place for the community managers to come together and the councils they're looking after and really just like communicate, talk about what's working. The drop-ins, just to say on the previous one, these are really going to kick into gear at the end of April. So I'm not going to start just yet. We're going to give people a bit of time to understand what's happening, where they are, what they need to do, set up teams, and then towards the end of April, this will all start to come through. The meetings are going to exist in the hub. You can get links to them there, and some of them will come from your community managers. There's a bit of a difference, but we'll keep being really clear about when to expect what with these. Other meetings, so drop-ins for LPAs who are new to ODP to ask questions about different aspects of joining the programme. So your first drop-in is the onboarding drop-in. This is one we spoke about just previously. The first session is Wednesday next week, and that is from, I want to say 11 till 12. I'll get a thumbs up. Yep, okay, 11 till 12 next week, and then they're going to be run weekly over April. You're going to get the invite for that today, so that will come through. That is your first one that you're looking out for. That's to ask all the questions about all of this. Once you've actually gone away and had a look at the hub and gone away and had a play with Slack, that's when you'll be able to come and ask those questions about that. The other one is the ODP data support drop-in. That's going to happen fortnightly. That's the place to go to ask questions about data work specifically. So the stuff that Swati had gone through earlier, that's the opportunity to come in and ask those questions. They have not started yet, as there's work to do. There's setting up, there's settling in, there's things that are going to happen before you start doing your data work immediately. There's guidance to read. They're going to happen more towards the end of April. And again, we will let you know when they're about to start and we'll send those messages to you. That I think is everything from me. Did anyone have any immediate questions or thoughts on that? And I can check the chat.
Perfect. I think if we go on to the next section, what we'll do is we'll do the questions at the end.
Brilliant. Thanks, Chanel. In that case, I think I'm handing over to Matt again.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks everyone for your time, patience, questions, topical jokes as well in the chat. Super appreciated. This has probably been an overwhelming amount of information. That's why we're recording it. That's why we have a whole resource hub, which tries to provide some steers and direction as to how you can navigate yourself around this program. So there's going to be loads of opportunities for following up things. I would say a few things. Let some of this sit, wait till you get the emails, and start to slowly look at things and navigate yourself around those sessions that Kelly's been talking about, especially the drop-ins. I think are going to be really useful touch points. And well, if we go to the next slide, I guess to break things down to a few simple next steps, having given you all of the complicated things so far. Congratulations, checkbox number 2. We're here at 21st of March. Still time for a bit of Q&A, but this has been the intro event. Regular drop-ins go across April, as Kelly said, the first one starting next week. And then really it's going to be mid-April that some of those more regular rhythms start. You'll be invited to start completing your digital planning maturity assessment. Well, from Thursday, but I appreciate we are sending out that link at the absolute worst time because it's the day before a public holiday, and many of you probably on school holidays now, if not next week. But really hope that that gives you enough time between effectively now or Easter and the end of April to get that finished. And in those drop-ins, you'll be able to raise any challenges and concerns that you've got with how you're getting on pulling those together. It might be that there's a first deadline and a second deadline, depending on numbers. And so we'll revisit that based on your own feedback. And then, yeah, worth saying, because thank you for the all of the data questions. They're going to be super useful just to feed back to the data team. And I think for that team really to consider what things are already answered, what things can be signposted towards, and what further conversations are needed. But those data specific drop-in sessions will start in May. We are hoping before then, or also in May, I suppose, to begin doing some more detailed open digital planning, i.e. really community focused introductory events with yourselves. And this is where offers like yours, Umbreen, are very much appreciated. We would love to hear from any local authorities that are interested in hosting a group of councils in your region. So if you imagine that we've got 43 councils we're working with here, there's possibly another 28 that work in the product space. There's possibly another 30 to 40 working in the world of PropTech. If you think you've got some meeting rooms that could support a group of somewhere between 30 and well upwards of 50 people, yeah, please let us know. Please pop something in the chat, reach out to one of us directly in one of the check-ins or drop-ins after this, and email us at, actually if you go to the next slide, the email that's at the bottom here, odp@levelingup.gov.uk. But to go over some of these things again, which you've already heard several times this afternoon, immediate next steps are looking out for those first sets of emails. You've got a couple coming tomorrow. You're going to have something for the digital planning maturity assessment on Thursday. If you want other people to be on these mailing lists, there's a form for that. It just really helps us get structured and organized with how we do that rather than you hitting reply to us. It would just be, we'd be really grateful if you could do that. It'll naturally pour itself into a beautifully organized spreadsheet then for us. I think it's worth saying you're probably going to receive emails outbound from us from an address that is digitalplanningteam@levelingup.gov.uk. We use a different email address if you want to contact us, which is odp@levelingup.gov.uk. That's because the digital planning team one is used program wide. It's incredibly noisy. It will be quite difficult for us to respond to you in a timely manner. So our kind of priority for communications and where you're likely to get responses from DLUC folks is going to be Slack as the first port of call, the odp@levelingup.gov.uk email address. please get in touch if you want to host an event now or at one point in the future. And then the digital planning team at Levelling Up, because that's, like I say, shared by so many other parts of the programme as well. I hope this has been a useful session. I hope that this has kind of given a bit of clarity around what this all involves. I think there's naturally going to be so many unanswered questions, and really just to re-emphasize that we see this as a collaborative endeavour between central and local government. We feel that ourselves, and we want to be that connection point between policy teams in DLUC and even other parts of the public sector, like arm's length bodies, statutory consultees and so on, with local government where it's useful. And we're always learning, and we're learning from the feedback that we get from sessions like this, and we'll continue to get from the different activities throughout this. So you can now ask us even more challenging questions or give us even more insightful feedback about how we can improve things. Chanel, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you very much. One of the questions I think that we wanted to come to first was from Maxine Kidd. It would be good to know which software providers other LAs use, i.e. iDocs, DEF, etc. I can answer that. Rather than you feeling the need to all put that into the chat or something now, you provided this information when you applied through application forms. So we have it there, and I suppose we should check everyone's comfortable with that being shared. But I think we can offer something better, which is we had a really neat piece of market analysis done earlier in the year, which looked at which local authorities using which back office system, how long your contracts are going for, when they're up, all stuff that is in the public domain on Contracts Finder and things like that. What we're hoping to do with that is make that open to everyone and to produce some kind of summary report or article that we can publish openly for everyone to be able to see that. Oh, Dean, thank you for asking that question, because we've also done a similar thing for GIS software authorities. And this is a great opportunity, I think, genuinely, for if you've got other ideas around things that will be insightful, that collectively DLUC could be commissioning or leading some research on, or even just putting a survey together so that we're collating things from yourselves directly. That's absolutely something that we can help to coordinate. So I hope to put a bit of that market intelligence out there into the world, because I know it can be really useful, not just for you to join up and talk to your kind of colleagues, but through in the future, maybe forums, customer forums where you get together and talk about that kind of thing, or even when you're considering re-procurements and you want to understand how people's experience has been with other service providers. Thanks, Chanel. Fantastic. Do we have any other questions in the chat? Does anybody want to put their hand up and ask a question directly? Peter. Do you have a question, Peter? No? Okay.
Whatever you'd like to call it. Is that better? Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Hello.
Right, you'll get used to my voice. I do apologise for that. Everybody else on this call. I used to represent Southeast and London region on the PSGA, PSMA group. So some of you will know me or heard of me, whether good or bad, I don't care really. I think it would probably be average. So Geospatial Commission doing a lot of work on open data basically standards. Are you looking at so from a data point of view, from the GI point of view, are you looking at keeping that a consistent standard? That's question one.
Who would like to pick up question one?
Nobody. There we go. Right. There you go. That's a question for you to go away.
Happy to answer that, Peter. I was thought one of my data colleagues might come in. I think the worst thing we could do is have competing standards in this marketplace, and that really, really kind of governs how we approach things. I would say inevitably there's and has been a bit of fragmentation at the moment, and we need to bring that together. I think, and your feedback throughout this is going to be really valuable in pointing out any blind spots that we've got. But yeah, I understand that the data team are working closely with them.
And another technical question. So I'm really sorry for this. I don't want to hijack it. I just asked 3 questions. Transformation applications, so moving data from one format to another format. Have you got a consistent engine to do that? Or is that for the LAs to deal with? Because obviously you want stuff in a specific standard with specific attributions. Is that for us to advise, or is that, have you got a pre-described piece of tech that you use?
There
Question-
are, I can take
Question
the
2.
question.
Yep.
Sorry. So there are certain format of standard you have to meet, and obviously you can advise. But there are certain things we transform at R. So some of the format are acceptable, and we can transform at our end as well. Does that answer your question, Peter?
Well, it helps me settle my mind that I know that you're thinking about that process. The other thing is ordnance survey, copyright, etc. for derived data. I hope that's all being considered.
Yeah, so we are working with Ordnance Survey as well, and there will be more update next week because we have a meeting this week with them and sorting out license and other stuff with them.
Okay, that's it. That's me done.
Thank you so much for your question. Can I go to Kenneth, please? Or Michael, even.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, thank you for this presentation. It's really useful to see the programme and get some more information. But I really just want to highlight, it's been a lot in the chat, just this question about listed building outline. I mean, we had a discussion in the office about it, and it's potentially quite, basically we just really need to get a clear answer on it, because it is incredibly difficult to define the curtilage or outline of a listed building, and that it would be amazing if we could have an agreed national data set of that, but I think it would go beyond the scope of like our funding to do that. So I think it'd be really, really great to have that answered as a priority, really.
So this is more of a data standard team question, but I'll try to answer it.
Yeah, thank you.
And what we have understood from working with other local authorities is that we have got a national data set, but that kind of provides us the point data, not the outline. And what we have understood so far is local planning authorities are responsible to manage, like maintain the outline of the the listed building outlines. So what we are asking you, just the outline, rest of the data we have got from Historic England. Are you saying that? Yeah, is that?
No, I'm just saying, like, basically it's like it's a really complicated legal process to understand what is the outline. It sounds really straightforward, but it's actually not that simple. And I'm just reading the Historic England's guidance on it, and it's literally the first line. This is one of the most complicated parts of building law to define, and it could open, I don't want to be negative about this, but it's just like potentially a vast impossible amount of work, or we just update our listed points. I know I would love to be able to do it like a proper outline, but I'm just not. I think we just need clarity on exactly what you want, or changing the expectation, really.
If I can just add to that before you come back,
sorry.
There's an ongoing conversation with Land Registry as well. Sorry, just to butt in on that, because they're likewise, in terms of migration of data to Land Registry, looking for local authorities to define a curtilage boundary. Short of going out and physically surveying every listed building, you're not in a position to do that, which is why I think the previous speaker is absolutely right. If we had to do that as part of this data set, there is no way, time-wise, nor financially, can we afford to do that.
I'm kind of certain that you might be able to raise these questions with the other local authorities as well, when we'll come together and learn from what they have done. At this point, sorry, I don't have much help on this topic, but I'm sure that we will be able to answer these questions later.
What I would highlight in this particular session is that we are going to have the data drop-ins. We're going to have the data support with the data standard team, and that is a really safe, dedicated space for all of these questions to be answered in real finite detail. So I would You've got the community managers who will ensure that those areas are going to be the spaces where they're answered. So this may be not the right forum to go into this level of granular detail, but 100% we will get to it within the correct forum. So thank you very much. Are there any other non-data related questions?
Sorry.
Hello, Jackie.
Sorry, yeah, I know this is a data age, but I think this is quite important. I think we need to get listed building, Historic England on board on this. I mean, I think it's not just a case of what other authorities are doing. It has to be a national standard, and listed building and Historic England need to be on board with this, at least an agreed template of, if it's not, it is a courtesy outline, but it may not be the definitive one. I think there has to be an approach resolved quite early on, because there's no point us mapping listed buildings unless we have an agreed format for doing it. And that has to be conversations with Historic England. They hold the national data set, and this is a very important question. It's a legal question, historic question. And I just want to reiterate that. And I think if DLUC had that conversation with Historic England, I think we could maybe get a progress on how we determine this going forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Jackie. Yeah, we will ensure that that is covered within the data drop-ins and within the data standards and support conversations. Is there anything else undata related that anybody would like to go through, perhaps around the tech, or perhaps around the community support managers? No. We do have a couple of minutes left, but if there are no further questions, or there's no questions for the team of any kind, then I can give you that time back. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time, for your patience, and for taking in so much valuable information. We will ensure that, as per what Kelly said, that the emails will be coming out thick and fast to you. So if you don't get anything today and tomorrow, check your spam and your mailbox bins. But yeah, we'll ensure that all of those invites go out to you. There will be a copy of this session that comes out to your email, and it's also on the hub as well. So that will be coming to you. If you do require any further support, myself, Eva, Sarah, Norman, Matt, we are all available, and also send a email to the invitation if you can't find us, and we'll pick it up. Swati, is there anything from
Just
you?
one last thing is that if you feel like you have got question and you want to answer, you don't want to wait for another 4 weeks, please feel free to go to the guidance. There is an email ID. Send us your questions and we will try to answer if that's what would help you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day and have a lovely bank holiday that's coming up as well. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.